My name is Irma, married name. I was born in Dresden. I'm a survivor of Theresienstadt, and there was only 150 children which survived Theresienstadt. I went to school in Dresden, a Jewish school, next to the synagogue. So in Crystal night, the synagogue was burned down and part of the school was destroyed. But we still had school till 1940, partially. But every day, some children were missing. From 250 school children, 5 survived, including me. The teacher, he was an English teacher, and he survived the war. He remembered me, and he said, "I never will forget you. You asked a question, what it means, Gestapo. And I explained to you what it meant, because you had brown shirts, you had SS, and you had Gestapo, so because in my mind was never on my schoolwork. I came home, nothing went into my head to learn. I had 4 years of school, that's all. My mother had friends, they were communistic inclined. She didn't belong to a communistic party, but being Jewish and communistic, it was not a good combination. So she was arrested one day. I was not home, I was at the neighbors, and they took her away. When I came home, the house was empty. So I was 2 days by myself, till my auntie came. In those days, there were no telephones in every house. So she came after 2 days to visit us, and she found me. Shortly afterwards, the racial law came out, and her marriage was really not allowed. But my uncle never left her. As a matter of fact, if not for him, we would not be alive. He saved my life and my auntie's. On the bottom of the building there was an ice dealer, what do you call it, ice parlor, ice cream parlor. And the man was Italian. And I used to always have ice cream in his place. And one day he said, "Sorry, but I can't give you any more ice cream. I'm not allowed to sell to Jews ice cream." And he was upset, but he did sell a few times. And they warned him, "If you don't stop doing that, we'll send you back to Italy." He used to walk in the street with a star on Jude. And the children used to bash us, with a stick. And so I protected myself to go out of the building where we lived, which was a working class area, very poor area. I protected myself by covering the star with my satchel for the school. But when I was out of sight from the building, I was told I should never cover it up because it's dangerous. When I was 12, I was picked up by the Gestapo one morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. 2 plainclothes with the Alsatian, but the Alsatian they left on the bottom of the building, and they came up. My auntie had 10 or 15 minutes to pack something in a suitcase. My uncle was there too, of course. He protested, but it didn't help much. And they took us into the Scheuerplatz. That was a place, assembly place in Dresden. And my uncle went to the Gestapo. He tried to adopt me. He tried to get me out of it, but instead of going to Auschwitz or Riga, I got into Theresienstadt. Well, when we arrived, we were separated families. There were a lot of families. Children were separated from the fathers and mothers. Husbands and wives were separated. And they gave us buildings with bunks. We had bunks. And in each room, I think we had 10 children and one older person. And on the sly, that means we were not allowed to be taught, but we did have people who were teaching us. And then I had to go to work. We had to go to work. I worked in a garden, like a farm, a small farm where they were growing vegetables for the SS, not for us. And then I had to go and pick chestnuts from trees, big trees. I loved it because we were marched out of the camp and there was a whole alley of chestnut trees. So I had one girlfriend from school with her parents, but they were eventually, a year and a half later, they were sent to Auschwitz. Because Theresienstadt was not a camp where people stayed permanently. It was a transit camp. And at any time there were 40,000 people. We had a lot of diseases. We had typhus, we had awful diseases. We had encephalitis, which was brought in by infested mosquitoes. I had that sickness, and I don't know how I got out of it, but I did. I had a very bad tonsillitis, and a Czech doctor, was Jewish. He had some instruments, and he took my tonsils out, but he had no medicine to give me anaesthetics or anything like that, so he put a clothes pack on my tongue, so my tongue would not go inwards, and he took out the tonsils. My emotions were, I was surrounded by a lot of people, but I was alone. I felt I was alone. They put tables in the square, there was a big square there, loaded with food. They had merry-go-rounds, the men had to play soccer, the theater had to play theater, the death wagons were painted white, and the people which used to carry the death had white coats on with white gloves, and they put the bread into it. And that was all filmed by the Red Cross. The tables were loaded, all the children were sitting there. They finished the filming, and the food was taken away. We were not allowed to eat it. As a matter of fact, I was hoping to be in the film. I thought maybe my auntie will see me. You know, that's what they told us. It will be shown in Germany for the rest of the world what paradise it was there. In 1944, they started 11 transports to Auschwitz. And they went to Auschwitz, but on the way to Auschwitz, the Russians came to Auschwitz. So that transports all had to come back to Theresienstadt. They were 3 weeks on the rail. When they opened the trains, we all were there, the people which were left. Half, 3/4 fell out, they were all dead. No water, no food, horrible. Young boys looked like men of 80. It was horrible. It was horrible. In the last half year, I think, or 4 months, they had an order from Berlin to liquidate the whole, to kill all the Jews which were there. And the ones which died there and which they killed there, they were cremated, and they were put in boxes. So one day we were told we have to take the boxes with the ashes of the dead people and throw them in the river. I can't remember the name of the river in Czechoslovakia, because Theresienstadt was in Czechoslovakia. And we had to carry them and throw them in the river, so there would be no evidence. I was full of hate after the war, full of hate. I really was. I lost my childhood, I lost my youth, I lost my family. You know. It was lucky I had my auntie, she found me after the war and, through the Red Cross. And she arranged for the few, I think there were 3 people left from Dresden. So she got a big truck and she took us home. My mother died in Ravensbrück. She was one of the people, my mother, who was building the Autobahn in Regensburg, which belonged to Ravensbrück. It was the area. And she got gangrene in her legs, so that's what we were told, that she perished there or she went to Auschwitz. That we are not sure about. I only know one thing, that there was a lady there, it was only for women, Ravensbrück, and she was a Jehovah's Witness, and apparently my mother told her, in case she doesn't survive, she gave her the address from my auntie to tell her what happened. And this lady survived, Jehovah's Witness. She came to Dresden, found my auntie and told her about my mother. Yeah. I didn't know this until a year ago. My auntie told me that before she died. I didn't know. I'm too emotional. That's why I work here on Sundays, but I could never work in the Holocaust with schools, because I know they'll ask questions, and to give answers, I get too emotional. Well, I did block it out. After the war for 2 years, I could not cry. I did not cry at all. And now I can't stop it. Something like that should never ever happen again. Children should be educated, and to teach them, and to say, people will say this, that it never happened, it's an awful lie. I mean, the Germans themselves made documentaries. It's not that we produced those pictures. They did themselves. And the archives are full of films which they made themselves, you know. So it is a very important thing, the Holocaust, very important. Schweig, Leid, Mut und Ertrag, deine Not niemand klagt, an Gott nicht verzag, dein Hilf kommt alle Tag.